Welcome to great America. Other people want to make friends. I'm just trying to save some money. My job is not just entertaining, but educating.
One day, and the party was given to me by some friend who has just a great idea, man.
You have told us in the past that you watch the 10-year yield very, very closely. We've made sure we put it on screen more often as a result. But right now, when you wake up in the morning, what are the first market points, data points that you're watching to get a gauge of what's happening?
First thing I do is look at the sovereign 10-year yield of Italy, and then 2 seconds later, Spain. And then actually I also look at the spread between French 10-year sovereign note and Bund. And the reason for that is that's giving me a notion of what the underlying structure of Europe is doing.
Darn it, last time you told us it was the 10-year note here, and that's all we show, right?
Italy's at 597, Spain's at 657, so this is just telling you more of what you've been explaining to us all morning about Europe.
I think that, and I've been saying this for a very long period of time, from day one, the euro has not really worked. And the problem is that it's creating a huge degree of lack of competitiveness for Southern Europe because their culture is different. And I'm going on to argue in the book I'm writing that we way underestimate 2 things in this world. One is the impact of culture, including the United States, and equity markets, meaning the extent to which the market values of equity on the balance sheets of countries is a far more potent force than I think we estimate. Those 2 things, I think, when you bring them all together, explain why innovation happens in certain ways and why it is that the United States is where we are relative to the rest of the world.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's always the same. I'm like trying to say, I wish you'd say grasshopper once in a while when you were talking to me. Just say, thank you, grasshopper, for that, because I feel like we learned so much. We did learn a lot. Thank you.
The way they avoid that, Carl Denninger, they use something called value at risk account.
I don't know what it happens.
So theoretically, what their balance sheet should be like, these theoretical models were operating at optimum speed. However, if you would actually mark to market the value of these things on the balance sheet, it would be a completely different story. Is value at risk accounting, has it been completely discredited at this point, and should it be outlawed?
It absolutely should be outlawed because it is actively a fraud. When you look at the assumptions that are used in value at risk accounting, there's 2 things. First off, they use a 95% confidence level in a statistical model. So this basically means that 1 day out of 20, you're not going to be within there. That's how statistics work. The second problem is that they look at this as the deviation in value over 1 trading day. Well, that implies that you can get out of the position in 1 day, because otherwise the damage keeps happening, right? So if the value at risk model says I can lose $100 million a day and this is considered acceptable, that would be great, except that I can't take.
All right, well, markets are reacting today to Greece as the country attempts to solve its debt problems again. But this next investor says,
liquidate it. When you do that, all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute, you know, what are we talking about here? All of a sudden, it's $100 million is $2.5 billion. That wasn't quite what we said it was, is it?
All right, you made the point that maybe the principal spot market being used to crash that economy was a bit of a stretch, although we know that hedge funds were positioned.
Let's go to the CME this morning, get the Santelli exchange with our own Rick Santelli. Hey, Rick.
Before the crash.
Good morning, Carl. You know, this is a big day. Historic low rates. You know, you gotta look at the board. Here we sit at 7 basis points in a 5-year. That's a record low closing yield. Should we start to get below that? It's equal. 164, that's a new one. Going back to the Eisenhower administration for a 10-year. We're under 130 for a boom. With these historic low rates, though, is it really helping us in individual debt? You know, in February of 2009, what I said was, if you are upside down, if you can't afford, for example, the house you're in, doesn't matter if you get your rate lowered from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. I think what I said in February of 9 was, you could give these people negative interest rates. If you have a credit issue, if you have collateral who's lost its value, the low interest rates aren't going to do you a world of good. Not to mention the fact that most people who need to refinance. Can't.
The problems are much worse. We're much more deeply
government debt.
now.
Let me think this one through. We constantly see people agonizing over whether we're going to have QE3.
All we've done is borrow additional money and spend it, and we're counting the spending as economic
lower than they already are.
The debt is growing
I
much
can't
faster
figure out.
than
And
the
as far as the dollar
GDP,
index,
and ultimately
you know
we're going to have to pay this money back with interest.
not
And the
a
only thing that's
safety
keeping us
trade.
afloat right
Listen,
now is 0%
I thought that a lot of the programs that the Federal Reserve did were bad for the dollar, and they were. But obviously, Europe sinking into the ocean is worse for the euro, and it helps the dollar. Last but not least, how many times have you heard with taxes? Let's go back to quick era taxes. We created 20-something million jobs. Well, on November 30th, 1994, the unemployment rate was 5.6. Fed funds rate was 5.5. There's your answer. Just put the rate back up to 5.5, and everything will be great. You see how dumb that logic is?
And because they're too low,
economy looks a lot different today than it did back in '94.
Bingo!
You think we have to go bankrupt? Well, we are
something that's very important is that we should fear the boom and not the bust. We should fear the situation when we have a bubble occurring, because the bust is kind of the necessary adjustment that we need. In other words, the bust is the fact that we clear out the bad investments so that we can free up resources so that they're invested in where society has the greatest demand. In other words, the best way to avoid bubbles is not to create them.
On one hand, let the Fed set the rate, but then on the other hand, let the market say.
Dr. Frank Hollenbeck there, telling us how it is once again. He'll be back later this week for another interview. Goodbye for now.
And perhaps you know Venus Project, you know the Free World Charter organization, you know perhaps the books and the stories of Gene Roddenberry, Star Trek, where we live in a world without money.
Spain's economic woes have deepened further by signs that its real estate
But the problem
crash.
we are facing is how can we get there? And all that we have to know is it happens in our minds. We have to push the right switches, and then we will find the path. I will give you some hints and clues how to do it on yourself.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. How are you doing, my good?
Hello everybody to my FM Signals Info Show. My name is still Damir Galsch from good old Germany, Stuttgart. Good morning, good day and good night wherever and whenever you're watching my videos. So today with a new design, fresh new design, and shortly monthly review and outlook about the currency markets. By the way, I've got a new strategy and tactics, or game plan and match plan if you want. So I grew up our universum until 30 currencies, by the way, and wanna give you still meanwhile the Wall Street trading and trading capability. So analyze this stuff still again, it's still yours. Fresh design, new fresh internet site, FM signals charts .t15.org, where you can also get the info show and worldwide economic calendar and the charts even of the 30 currencies. So on Facebook and Twitter also, and on blog. So however, analyze this stuff again. Every month, always on the first weekend on a month, I will give you a shortly review and outlook about the May. Today, it's by the way Sunday morning, Central European time, Saturday night. Fever is over. Yes, European Championship Sunday morning. So if you want, after the European Championship game between Germany and Portugal, 1-0 Germany. Hello, and yes, the Celtics are playing with the Heats in 2 hours. So I want to give you a shortly monthly review and outlook of the May. By the way, I uploaded, let me say honestly, last week here or this video, but I've got it was first way too long, and second way too much background music, so I delete also some videos. However, today fresh, new, breaking to the point here with a monthly review and outlook, by the way. So the big picture is the same, nothing changed last week, and the themes are always central banks, money markets, politics, economics, technical analysis about one currency here of the 31, and some use of our playlist. I've created some playlists you can see at our FM Signals YouTube channel. Okay, the themes of today are central banks, last month decisions and dates for this month, money market, 10-year bonds and CDS of the Euro-Egypt countries, politics, worldwide elections of this month, economics, data output for China in May 2012, technical analysis, synthesis, interesting actuality, price levels of the Chinese renminbi yuan, and of our playlist. Max Kaiser talked about the euro, Peter Schiff about the US dollar, both in last days at their best. So analyze the stuff still again, it's still yours, and let's get started. Okay, FM market participants all around the world, let's get with a shortly news overview about the central banks last month, even in May. So here I've got images of Leitzinsen.info, and here you see, it's only in German, but you can understand it here fully, day, month, and upraising rates or cutting rates here with how much. For example, here 1st May, Australia cuts rates to 3.75, 50 basic points. By the way, Poland raised up, Malawi also, Iceland also, Georgia cuts, Denmark cuts, Brazil cuts, and Denmark once again 1 week later. So that are the decisions of last month in May. And if we get them shortly outlook here in Australia, we got here 1 week later, of course. It's, by the way, Sunday morning here, Central European time, 10th June 0:33 in the morning. So here we've gotten decision this week, cut their rates. Chinese also cut their rates. Later some words to this. Eurozone, England, nothing new. Interesting for us traders perhaps. Iceland, Switzerland, no surprise. Bank of Japan will be interesting, 15 June, and the Federal Reserve, of course. Here I've got some words, by the way, from my side. Interesting. Here at the 1st May, RBA cuts rates with 50 points in May. What surprised me, my personal opinion, I don't accept it. Let me say honestly. But if we are assuming that this action was something like a pre-entry motive, it seems logical and consistent. Remembering a video from the 22nd March 2012 as Australian dollar Chinese yuan English video with the swap agreement of the RBA. So that indicates for me, or it seems like, or assuming is the right word in English, assuming that the cross rate or the Australian dollar is simply something too high, or perhaps for the Australian economy, of course. So, and we saw it also this week, 25 basic point with another cut. So this week here we see here I've created get a view of it. So as I said before, I created this map and this video also last week, but yes, it don't work. So however, let's get back to forward. By the way, interesting, here we see cut races. We see also in Europe signs of light if you want. So where the sun goes up if you want. Here Europe crisis of course of the European or Euro situation. So monetary situation, fiscal situation. But here if we see, for example, Iceland at 16th May, they raised up their rates with another 25 basic point until 5.5%, and it's the fourth upraising since August 2011. And Iceland, perhaps a role model for the Eurozone. Iceland got all decisions in the back of the bag. So I call it even what the Euro maybe can or must do. So, of course, Iceland is a small country, small island, of course. But yes, Iceland is a nice picture, also a nice role model. It's the Euro is an outspending volcano, if you want, a great bizarre picture. However, interesting also Poland, and that's also the reason why I'm choosing here for us 30 currencies, because euro, and we are so focusing on euro, and here of course we are living here in the Eurozone and don't see all around us. Iceland, Poland are still growing. Poland, a great example, by the way. Here if we see Poland, so Poland, the National Bank of Poland raised their rates, for example, are also 25 basic point on 9 May until 4.75, and meanwhile the 5 upraising since 2011. So yes, of course, Polonia's economy is still growing through the crisis, and if I'm not wrong, the only largest economy in Europe. So what crisis the Poland's are knowing the crisis also only from TV, if you want, or from a radio station. So and the National Bank of Poland even can accordingly reacting with their own currency, and did it last month in May 2000 before the soccer EM. Of course, many growth, infrastructure, etc., or more here in the Poland economy. But I'm thinking the big issue is, of course, that the Poland got their own currency, make the right decisions, the politics and the central bankers, and it works still. Poland is growing. What crisis? So, by the way, perhaps I will give you a trading capability. I wouldn't say I don't have an opinion of the Poland of the zloty. By the way, perhaps yeah, we will see. I've got to make an analysis, by the way, of the currency, but the economic is growing. Central bank do their job, and yeah, it's still growing. What this means for us forex traders or the forex markets is another map, another question, and yes, I will surely create a trading capability, by the way, next week or this week here. So okay, that's the review, the outlook. Okay, that's over this week. So we are here today on the second weekend in June. However, here the other dates: South Korea, Mexico, Indonesia, Thailand, Iceland, New Zealand, Philippines, Swiss, Japan, of course, interesting for Japanese traders. Norway, USA, of course, Turkey, Israel, Hungarian, and the Czech Republic. So unlicensed stuff again, it's still yours. Take response, be aware. That's all with the shortly news overview about the central banks. Okay, after the central bank shortly overview, let's get to the money markets. And the money markets, I'm choosing the GIPS countries in Europe. Here we are with the GIPS. Here the 10-year bond yield since 2008 until even end of last week, so 1st June 2012. We see here Greece, Ireland. Forgive me, I don't got here the charts. Here Italy, Portugal and Spain, and the same stuff here of the CDS. 5 years, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Portugal and Spain. Charts are all from Bloomberg, by the way. So, okay, what we can see, I'm painting here inside, we see in all GIPS, we've got here something like a sideways trend, and since 2010 or lately 2010, we've got here a pretty upside trend. So, I'm not a bond trader, I don't watching the bonds every day, but in the last, or this year, let me say, okay, since 2000, or usually I'm watching, only monthly as a forex trader. So after the crisis, perhaps weekly, but in the last years, weekly and today and daily, also get a shortly view about. Well, it's good to know where the bonds are standing, by the way. Also, so cause all in all, it's an unusual time, by the way. Also in the forex, euro crisis, etc., etc. However, that's an important fact to me, by the way. And if we are here taking the CDS spreads, we can see that CDS spreads are all also near all-time high. So by the way, I'm created here something like an ad or map if you want. So 10-year Greece bonds are back on track to rise after the cuts this year. You see here the cut, of course, and then is this, and the question what I'm asking myself and asking to you, of course, also is this a market anticipation of all another GIPS bond yields, another price level, of course. Here we see was up, cut, but still rise again. So we will see this in Ireland, Italy, Portugal and Spain also. Rising, cut, rising, cut, rising, cut. Because the solution, it's a short-term solution. So we are creating more debt and debt, so on, so long, and the markets don't price it in, or the bondholders or the bond traders. However, all another 10 years bond yields are more or less nearly all-time highs. If all another 10-year bond yields are nearly all-time highs, if we cut the spikes, in Spain 10-year bonds are more or less nearly all-time highs, by the way. Of course, while they are all in the euro, so while the countries are all, of course, the yields were higher as they got their own currency. And all euro GIPS CDRs are more or less also nearly all-time highs if we cut the spikes to here. So that was event driven, if you want. So shortly event driven or week driven, and all are high. And what this means to us, if we add this all facts together, in my opinion, it means that finance costs for the states are rising, what are giving pressure from the markets to the citizens and of course taxpayers. So, and politicians must resort the revenue expenditure, how to say in English, revenue and expenditure side of the government budget, so better was for the taxpayers. So that's the name of the game, or that's the job of the politicians. And in the end, somebody got to pay this crisis or this monetary problem. It's a monetary problem, by the way, and even cause the politic actors don't make a decision. In the end, someone, two or all three got to pay treasury investors, CDS holders, or even taxpayers. So, and that's the job. Even it's or what I want to say in the end, it's it's policy, baby. Yeah, it's policy, baby. It's all policy by France. By French or France 24 English. Yeah, it's all policy edition. As one if I'm not wrong, one Bloomberg journalist said, it's all policy. It's all policy. So someone, two, all three got to pay: treasury investors, CD holders, taxpayers, and if not, all the politicians, tax payment bureaucrats. Politicians are no more or less than tax payment bureaucrats, create itself off, and the democracy in Euroland, as we know in the last 40 or 50 years, after 49 of course, are even creating itself off, and let the technocrats, even private bureaucrats, doing their job. So that's the name of the game. The name of the game, if you want. It's all policy, babies, all around the world, here in Europe. So, and yeah, it's easy to me here as a market participant to. It's not a critical. Don't understand me wrong, please. In this context, I'm only only telling you what I'm seeing, heard, listen, and understanding from the market development, and in the end, someone, two or three parties got to pay: treasury investors, CDS holders, or even taxpayers, to resolve this crisis. And yeah, it's the job of the politician to make a decision on a solution. Or the politicians, even taxpayer bureaucrats, create themselves off, and the democracy, as we know here in Euroland or in Europe, let the technocrats, even are no more or less than private bureaucrats, doing the job. And that's even monetary dictatorship, etc., etc. However, we will see what will happen. That's all from the money markets from my side. So be aware, take response, and get a view, shortly view daily, if you're trading the forex, also of the bonds. Of course, which currency you're trading, also take a look, especially in the European context here, of the bonds in the euro area. That's all for the money markets. Let's get further to the politics. Okay, after shortly news overview about the central banks and money markets, let's get forward to the politics. Here, by the way, I lose my map. Let me stay honestly here. Oh man, I say it's 3 times. Next time I will give you an how to say, a free round for orange juice, by the way. Okay, however, let's go forward to the politics. Here I lost here my map of May, so let's get an outlook of June. And by the way, we see here we have France, Egypt, Greece, France, Libya, Papua New Guinea, Mongolia, Iceland, and Congo, by the way. So, and important for us in this contest, traders, of course, or forex, FM participants, FM forex market, of course. Here, let's get forward. And France and Greece elections essentially for the euro. However, this will be even Austria or the politics here in France, big country, large country, Germany, and of course all another 15 ones, don't forget their votes, all the same. And Greece, of course, parliamentary snap on June. So first round today, by the way. Of course, here we've got Sunday, so today the first round, second round next week, and also France. By the way, Egypt. So Egypt, historical event in the more 50 years old history. So Egypt also second round presidential vote, also very take an eye of it. also very interesting. Then, by the way, Libya, Papua New Guinea, Mongolia, so and Congo, and for us traders, forex market participants, Iceland, perhaps interesting. Don't ignore the presidential election if you're trading the Iceland krone, by the way. So that's the shortly outlook. Analyze this selection, this elections, of course. Again, it's still yours, and we will see how the market, or will the market, react on those facts. So that's all about politics today. Okay, so I'm thirsty, I need to drink something. Okay, after the central banks and money markets and politics, let's go to the economics. Today I'm choosing the economic of China, even because I created this map last week and I thought or suggest or was looking or waiting for the decision of the central bank if they'll do something, and they did it. They also cut their rates this week. So, and even act preemptive, even like the Australian RBA, even as we saw this in the with the swap decision. And the question, of course, is, let me say something basically, it's even with this preemptive, that's also a reason for how the government and the central banks are acting. And if you saw Tom Cruise and his Minority Report movie 2003-4, I'm not sure when this was, 8-9 years old film movie, and yeah, that's all about preemptive acting. Of course, future science fiction future video. And if you saw how this movie ends, yes, if I'm not wrong, it was 2004-3. I don't know. However, that's also the problem or the solution, even of the acts. However, I don't want to criticize the RBA or the PBC of what they're doing, but for us here in this context as forex market traders, analyze the stuff. Always, again, it's still yours. So even with the consequences and for the market, or even for us as forward FM participants. So here I wanna give you a review, an outlook about the Chinese economy, and here are all data from May of China or from China. Here we see all output data. All charts are from, or this table is from Daily FX, by the way. Oh, I didn't wrote it here in this map, so that's not my table. dailyfx.com FXCM broker. Okay, so let's analyze this stuff. And interesting, in my opinion, is here. If we see here the lending index, manufacturing, all inline trade balance a little bit bigger than. So, and here this stuff. So let's get started here with this stuff. The export and imports are lower than expected. Here we see accepted last month 49004 imports only, and industrial productions also a little bit slower, and here on year to year more 9.3. So back to then if you want. However, here, and that seems to me industrial production is lower, a little bit lower, import exports also lower, so the economy is weakening. And if we are adding this to the retail sales, also very high year to year basis, but a little bit lower, so, and that seems, or it's an indication even that the economy is a little bit slowing. And I suggest that the People Bank of China will also pre-act, even pre-motive or pre-entry. I call it pre-empty acting or proactive cut their rates, and they did it. And here, and all in all, the manufacturing index PMI also lower than expected, also a little bit falling. And all in all, imports and exports are slowing, industrial production lower, retail's falling down, a classical slowdown. So, and that's the reason why the Chinese act also pretty, of course, on a big level, of course, on a big growing story level. But perhaps is China also overheating? So, however, let's so that's all the economic output of China last month. So interesting. Let's get from a short view last month to a bigger view here, if you want, from 2008 to this or to last month. Here, these charts are all from tradingeconomics.com, by the way, and here we see the growing from 2008 to last month, and here the last 2 years. So, and we see here the slowing, not recession, but down to 6.2 upside. Then here 2010, and then also slowing, but on a big level. So this growth we probably would have here in Europe, and of course in the northwestern world, of course. And here we see in the last year and this year the growth rate is on a big level, slightly slowing. So let's go to the inflation rate, and we see here deflation 2009-10 upside, and here slowly downside. Here more in detail last year 2011 and 12 this year. So interesting is the balance of trade. So imports, exports, we see here export, here imports 2 times, 3 times. So so that's another question. If we saw this one here, usually China exporting. So, and here we've got here some signs that the imports are growing, by the way. So also interesting fact here. Perhaps was also event riffle special scenarios. We will see, is this a new trend or not. And then an unemployment rate. Here we've got we've got here rates 4.1, 4.3, 4.1 in China, by the way. So the big picture looks great on a high level. So let's get to a larger picture, by the way. So here's since then, if you want, since 94, and we see here the balance of trade. What's interesting for me is here on the big picture, usually exporting, but in the last time here they're importing much. And the question is, of course, is here we see the growth, expansion, export nation here, and will China get to the new chamber, new level, if you want. So in the last century they're exporting much, and now, and so they're creating wealth, etc., in their own in their own currency, own society. And now perhaps is or are we living in a time this century or perhaps next century where the Chinese don't or will not export so much, even because they are growing. They are not they are growing, the society is growing, they have more richer, wealthier people, and then they are buying more goods than selling to the world, to the rest of the world. So interesting question, but yeah, very high picture and very speculative, but analyze the stuff again from the economic side, it's still yours. Here on the inflation side, on the large picture, here a big inflation in the 90s, of course, then big inflation was then falling, then here we've got this rising, and after the crisis here 2008 still slowing. So the GDP, by the way, are rising, still rising, and on big levels here 12, 13 and 8 are still big rising. So that's the big picture. That's the big picture in China, or the basic numbers. Analyze this stuff again. Analyze the stuff again, it's still yours. However, so let's get forward to the technical analysis of the Chinese renminbi yuan. Okay, traders, after the shortly news overview about the central banks, money markets, the JIPS, bond yields and CDS, politics, outlook, and economics of Chinese, let's get a shortly news overview about the technical, or within technical analysis synthesis about the Chinese renminbi yuan. By the way, here you remembered or knowing of my old videos I'm creating here with the always something like an some table of about the pips development of these three currencies, even the 8 liquid currencies: Australian, Canada, franc, euro, pound, yen, Australian dollar, US dollar, and of course of the BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, Chinese, and South African rand. So, and we see here the development of this month, and we see the Yen grew am meisten, grew am meisten, yeah, German, grew mostly following by the Chinese renminbi yuan and the dollar in May. By the way, the Russian ruble lost mostly, South African rand, New Zealand dollar, following by the European euro, New Zealand dollar, and chief and Australian dollar. However, interesting for us today is here the development of the Chinese, which I want to give you in shortly technical analysis synthesis. And before we started here, only the Yen grew mostly. So, and interesting is in this context, here we see the development of the yuan in April, and also in March, February, and January. And we saw here of these 13 currencies. Here, these 13 currencies in January and February, we've got lower pips against the other currencies here, and then in March rose up, also in April, and once again in May. So we've got something like a turnaround, if you want, in the technically pips development. So and here let's get with a view about the index. So every weekend I'm creating here some pips. This index is only until 27th 4th 2012, so no, the my data is not included. So if we are, so we've got to add here, by the way, 3,000 3,802 pips, and this means 3 points up. So that would be here at 76. So we are here right now. So we are here. So we've got here this outbreak. So I've got problems with to upload it, to put the data here inside in my chart. So realize here we broke this area. However, let's get to a technical analysis. And here I want to give you some basically trends to identifying since 1998. So a larger time frame, even for a monthly outlook or longer and monthly review. So here we've got between 1998 and 2012 here this uprise, then this lower Chinese renminbi yuan. So then here 2004 something flat, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2000. So and then here while the crisis, the Chinese renminbi yuan grew up, and then since then something like a side trend. And here we are trading here around about 70, if you wanna the detail name, plus 376 roundabout here. So at 4 weeks we are trading here right here now. So that's the biggest that's the big trend lines in my opinion in the one. So slightly, so yes, and I would accept slightly higher prices. Here we saw at the start of the year lower prices. At the start of the year I thought the Chinese renminbi yuan and against the another currency will get lower this year, but here we've got this great turnaround. Even saw here in this cross trades, by the way, here. So May, January, February, and then in March this turnaround. So that's the all-time scenarios if you want. Here let's get perhaps here to this scenario, to the actuality also big time frame scenario, of course. Here what will happen here, and in my opinion important are here the high of 2002. While the crisis, we've got here new highs in this pips index, then lows, and here then back on rise if you want. Here the highs 2004, start of the year 2004, then lows again, then we try here 2006-7 to grow again, and while the crisis started here 2008, we've got here this big upside trend. So and now we are here, if you want, between 65.37 or 65 and 79. If you want a detail, 79.0602 of course. Important is, in my opinion, here the first upside trend, the secondary upside trend, and here the territory, the third upside trend, territory. So here first, second, territory. And we see here on the third upside trend, we broke this at the start of the year, got lower prices, and now we are back on track. I don't accepting here much higher prices like here. So, but here in this time space area, we will, or the Chinese renminbi yuan will be trading. So here, so that should be the name of the game. Interesting is why I'm choosing this, or why I watch the Chinese renminbi yuan in May, was this fact. Look at this, guys. Here the lows, while the crisis, we've got here this high, this lows here, and I make here, let's delete the right extension here, the high lows 2008, here the crisis high, gets new highs, fall back and get new highs once again and fall back. And 2010 we tried to come back, and the bulls lost here against the Chinese memory 1 bears, and here we've got here new lows. And if we are creating here this right extension, we were here, let's zoom a little bit, here we came here to this line. So here, let's zoom a little bit, here we see it. So that was the reason why I watched the Chinese economic data and the cross rate of the Chinese yuan very carefully in May, and why I'm giving you here right here now an outlook. So here, and today we've got the May data, and we are trading here around about 76, so creating new highs if you want this year. So we are in the green area this year. So okay, so very interesting technical scenario, by the way. And if we are going a step forward, here we've got here this W, great technical W, see it here, this line, we've got here this resistance, and here, so we can here paint inside, so we will trade slightly higher prices, we can accept it in the Jan. So okay, right here right now, of course, on the 10th June 2012 at 1:36 in the morning on Sunday. So we will see what will happen. Unlicensed stuff still, again, it's still yours, but very interesting scenario. Okay guys, that's all with the technical analysis today. So, and in the end I want to give you also some news from foreign market participants of our playlist. Okay guys, let's get to a shortly news overview of our playlist. If you go to my website fmsignals.chartspoint.t15.org, click on FM Signals Info Show, you will get something like this. You will get here the list of foreign market participants: Jim Cramer, Mark Faber, Bill Cross, Mohammed El-Erian, Frank Holmbeck, Franz Herrmann, Alex Jones, Max Kaiser, Stephen Molyneux, Rick Santelli, Peter Schiff, Jim Rockards and Tom Woods, and of course all central bank info news. YouTube playlist, of course, Jim Cramer for daily traders, everybody knows him, of CNBC. Mark Faber, also investor from Switzerland. Bill Gross, Mohammed El-Erian, bond investors, PIMCO, of course. Frank Holmbeck, interesting economic professor from Switzerland. Franz Herrmann, also interesting economic professor about the whole-based monetary system, also very interesting. Alex Jones, we know him also, of course. Max Kaiser, also interesting. If you're interested, Alex Jones, by the way, not only about the financial markets, all around, all another, how to say in English, media stuff, non-mainstream media stuff. Alex Jones, very interesting. Max Kaiser, we know him on the Edge at Press TV or RT Max Kaiser report with Stacy, of course. Then, if I'm not wrong, he's in Paris at home, not in London, by the way. I'm not sure, London, Paris, need to ask, or need to identify. However, Max Kaiser, we know him all. Then Stephen Molyneux, great philosopher, talking with his radio with his radio show, also very interesting. Not only about the markets, about whole life. So yes, great stuff. I added here on the playlist. with him also. Then Rick Santelli, we know him from the Chicago's from the CME, if I'm not wrong. Yes, from CNBC. Always very interesting. His view of points, or the point of views. Then Peter Schiff, also very interesting for all market participants. Jim Rogers, also from Singapore, and Tom Woods, the New York Times, yes, journalist, of course, also very interesting. And by the way, central bank use infos you can also get. Today I want to give you something about oh, by the way, if you're clicking on Max Kaiser, then should only be Max Kaiser Black. Here is the YouTube video list, and here on Twitter account all FX participants and how do I say, FX participants, political activists. You can get here all Twitter news and my feeds also, of course. And here, by the way, Peter Schiff. If you're clicking on Peter Schiff, you will get here the Peter Schiff playlist, Twitter account, and so far. Okay, what I've got to say, or what I want to say to you in the end, here Max Kaiser talked in this playlist, if you're clicking on Max Kaiser, talked about the euro crisis last week, very well, at his best, as I said here in the intro of this video. And also Peter Schiff, and Peter Schiff seems, or discuss in his last interviews, the crisis behind the crisis, if you want, in my words. He meant that the US economy is much more in trouble than Europe. And here's some videos of the playlist, so feel free, click on FM Signal Charts T15 ARC, and yes, analyze the stuff. Still again, it's still yours. And what I've got to say, of course, we are in the crisis. Of course, I agree, euro is in crisis. I don't want to say which here we've got more pain, or I'm not how do you say in English, so masochist. So yes, we've got on both sides of Atlantic problems, and the question is, of course, which theme the markets are playing here. Of course, is Max Kaiser right on this with his point of view, and Peter Schiff, of course, also. But it's for us here in this context, for us forex market participants, if you're knowing, if you're trading shares, for example, and stock pennies, perhaps. I want to make this analogy. If you're trading, if you find a share price which have great numbers, great fundamental data figures, great stuff, great products if you want, or great services, and cheap share, but nobody cares, nobody trades. So important is, of course, which theme the markets are playing here, even a euro crisis or US crisis, and then we will see what will happen even with the euro and the dollar. And by the way, I'm thinking right here, right now, I don't can't I really don't, or really don't know. No, so we will see what will happen. So stay aware and analyze the stuff. Still again, it's still yours, by the way. So yes, I don't want to play the game who is worse, so Europe or dollar. So yes. However, analyze the stuff again, it's still yours, and take response, be aware. I will create this week some trading capabilities, even if you know, on a short-term view, of one cross trade here of our 30 currencies, by the way, and analyze this playlist also not only Peter Schiff and Max Kaiser. Once again, guys, it's still yours. Okay guys, that's all for today. Perhaps once again, central banks last month decisions, RBA preemptory cut this month once again in June, Poland NPV well done, good job, Iceland also upraising cycle. Then money markets, 10-year bonds, CDS of the Euro GIPS countries, politics, elections this month, France today, Egypt next week, and Greece, France once again, Iceland also. Economics, China slowing a little bit. The PBC also cut their rates. Technical analysis, interesting actuality price levels of the Chinese renminbi yuan, very interesting. So could be a buy. Watch cross rate by cross rate if it's tradable. End of our playlist, Max Kaiser about the Euro and Peter Schiff about the US law, both in the last days in the playlist at FM Signals Charts T15 org at their best. So all in all, thank you for watching. I'm hoping you've gotten better overview, review and outlook about what's happening or what's happened in the markets. Of course, there are a lot of themes, a lot of trading capabilities, so I'm cutting also here something if you want here, cutting math if you want to see here the markets, the foreign markets are so big stories inside, so I'm cutting only here a little piece of one and hoping to give you even and shortly monthly review and outlook, and next week some trading capabilities. So all along, thanks for watching my videos, spending your time. Have a great day, have a great evening. So enjoy the ride on the markets and of course the live. For example, European Championship today, Germany, well done. Won against Portugal, by the way. Our Netherlands lost against Denmark. And yes, in a half hour here, the Celtics will playing with the Heats. Tomorrow also European Championship, Italy, Spain and Croatia, Ireland by the way. So enjoy the ride, enjoy the markets and enjoy life. Good morning, good day and good night wherever and whenever you're watching my FM Signals Info Show. Bye bye guys, talking to you on Monday while trading session.